The UPSC CSE arena is an ever-evolving space where staying up to date becomes as crucial as maintaining a thorough preparation. With strategic planning and holistic coverage for exam syllabus, Vision IS Delhi presents GS Foundation course, avail analysis and integration of current affairs with GS syllabus. All India test series with an innovative assessment system, inculcating post-test analysis, discussion, all India ranking, and more. Explore the holistic learning modules intrinsically designed for the ideal aspirant.
Good afternoon. So have we discussed this particular topic earlier regarding how to face an interview? No? So how many of you have actually gone through the first or the second stage of the civil services, prelims and mains? Acha, okay, so many, lot many. Okay, wonderful. So first of all, let me tell you that facing an interview is an art, and it has to be learned. It comes over a period of time, but it is not difficult to learn. I shall talk about the various traits and attributes which are required to be present, and they are all doable. There is nothing which cannot be done. Only thing is you have to follow a certain systematic pattern. But before I start, let me ask you a very basic question which often finds mention at the interview boards. Why civil service? That's a very, very mundane, and almost every interview this question is asked. And particularly this question is asked from those candidates who have done engineering and or medical or MBA. So why civil service? So how will you reply to that? Yes. Diversity of job. Okay. All right. What else? Okay, leadership skills. What else? E-governance. Personal needs. Okay. What else? Contribution to the society. Okay. So fourth is service to the society. Fifth is policy implementation at ground level to connect society. What else? Innovation. Okay. Anything else? This particular question is invariably going to be asked. I shall come to the traits in a little while, but I wanted to start off with this question. And many people, they answer this question in the following manner. They say that it was my desire when I was young. From that level, I could see IAS officers, the amount of power, the amount of authority they wielded. Or someone will say that in the school annual function, the local collector had come and I was fascinated to see. So I thought I will also follow the footsteps. Someone will say that my parents' desire was that I should become an IAS officer. All these answers are fine. There is nothing wrong with them. But they are not the best answers. Okay? You can give these things at the end of your answer. But one thing you must understand is whenever you are giving an answer, you should prioritize your answer. Prioritize your answer. Your answer, the most important part of your answer should come first. So prioritize your answer. So the most important thing should come first and then the other things. And this I am saying with respect to all questions. They may ask you about how to empower women. How will you take care that education, literacy in your district, maximum number of people go to the schools, children and so on. So you have to come out with many answers. The most important part of the answer you should come first. That is prioritize. Number two, always remember that whenever you give an answer, it should be followed or supplemented with examples. So examples is again a very important thing. You remember even in the ethics paper also, example play a very important part. You are asked about accountability, you are talked about transparency. Everywhere you are expected to give examples. The third thing which I would like to mention now is that civil services examination is a measure of your ability. Ability is made up of three things. They are called as KSA. What is KSA? Knowledge, skills, attitude. Okay. So, knowledge, skills, attitudes. Now, knowledge is generally tested in your prelims and mains. So, knowledge K is tested in prelims and mains. Now, skills also are partially tested in prelims and mains and partially in the interview. Can you tell me what are the skills which are needed for prelims and mains? Okay. So, the skills which are there in prelims and mains is critical thinking, problem solving, articulation of thoughts, what else? Basically these three. Critical thinking, this, yes. Drafting, okay, all right. So the skills are tested both in the prelims, mains as well as interview. What are the skills that they test in interview now? Tell me. Communication. So communication also is a very large area. So one is presentation skills. How do you present your case? So presentation. And oratory skills. So how do you speak? Choice of words, etc. So now it is clear that as far as knowledge is concerned, knowledge is mostly tested in the prelims and mains. Skills are tested in all the three levels, that is prelims, mains as well as interview. And attitude is generally mostly confined to the interview. So they test your attitude, your views. So by asking questions, what can be the specific areas where they would like to test your attitude? Attitude is your belief about something. Can you give me examples? What kind of things they can ask you to test your attitude? Huh? Okay, situation-based question. About weaker sections, correct? Opinion on news items, okay. Huh? Opinion on stereotypes, yes. Political questions. So what happens is that in the interview, generally it is a no for political question. They will not ask question on politics or religion. So don't worry on that score. They will not ask on political questions. They may ask about foreign policy, but not political questions, no religious question. So let it be totally off your study. So the questions which they can ask, which are related to attitude, number one, attitude to women, okay, senior citizens, what else? Yeah? Tribals, yes. They can ask questions on reservation policy, attitudes. They can ask questions on what else? Huh? Pardon? Disabled, okay. Disabled, weaker sections. And they can also ask your views about certain things like hijab. So there can be many questions relating to, it can be Sabrimala, hijab, demonetization, love jihad. So the attitude, they want to test how you will, what is your attitude towards these things. And when we talk about attitude, remember one thing. They would like to see whether you are rational, whether you are ethical, and whether you are secular. Three things. So the answer should depict that you give an rational answer. What is rational? Tell me now. Rational and objective. These are the two words which we use in ethics paper. They are one of the important values. What is rational? Huh? Yeah? Based on logic. Based on logic and reasoning. So, logic and reasoning. So, whatever answer you give, it should not be a knee-jerk reaction. It should be based on solid arguments, facts, figures, logic. Number two, they want to test whether you are secular. So what is your views? For example, they can ask you that there is a mandir, there is a masjid, and loudspeaker is being played in the temple, and azan is being given in the masjid. What's your view about it? Your answer should be absolutely secular. The answer would be clearly that whatever is the law of the land regarding noise control, it will be applicable both to the temple and to the masjid. So it should give an impression that you are not inclined in favor of any particular religion. Because as a civil servant, you are expected to impart justice to all sections of society, all religions. And that is why the second thing they will test is secular. And the third is ethical. So they will pose some dilemmas, on the spot questions which have an ethical angle to it. For example, they say that there is a police constable, and that police constable, there is a bus, and the police constable at the end of the journey finds that someone has left a bag, and that bag contains 1 lakh of rupees. There is an address written there. So he goes and delivers that bag to that particular person. That person gives as a reward 5,000 rupees to that police constable. Should he accept that 5,000 rupees? He has not asked for it. He is giving on his own accord. Should he or should he not accept that? It's an ethical question. So your answer will logically, because you have to always give an ethical answer. So your answer will be that as a civil servant, as a public servant, as a government servant, it is his duty to do that, to deliver to the rightful person. And why it will be unethical to accept it? Number one, if he start doing it, then it will become a habit. Next time also if something happens, he will start doing it, and that will ultimately lead to corruption. So it is an ethical question which they can ask. There can be many ethical questions. For example, because as I told you, everything, examples. You must understand examples. For example, there is a training institute. There is a training institute, like Labasna is a training institute. And this training institute belongs to a public sector undertaking, PSU. They train their officers there. Now, Sudesh Sharma is the director, local director of that institute. So, the institute is a beautiful campus. There is a lot of land attached to it. So, the day he joins, the people tell him that the local residents of that village, they celebrate a festival every year. And the day the celebration is done, it is a holiday. So the training is not disturbed. And since we want to cooperate with those people, no rent is charged for that land. For one day, no rent is charged. They are allowed to celebrate their festival. So Sudesh also, the day the celebration took place, he extended all cooperation to those residents, the villagers. When the festival was over, then those people came to Sudesh Sharma, the villagers, and handed over an envelope. When he opened the envelope, he found there were 5,000 rupees cash. Now, he said, but it is given free of cost. There is no charge. So then they said, we have been giving this same amount to your predecessor also. The officer who was before you, we have been giving 5,000 rupees and he has been accepting it. So please accept that 5,000 rupees. Now he was in an ethical dilemma. He had 4 options. So the questioner will ask you that there are 4 options. 1, he accepts the money, which he can justify by saying that throughout the day I was standing there, I was helping them. To what is the harm in accepting 5,000 rupees? The second option, he rejects the money. Number 3, he reports the matter to the higher authorities to take action against his predecessor who had been accepting 5,000 rupees. And fourth is, he forms a policy that whenever the land is given, the amount which is collected is deposited into the company's account against receipt. So now the questioner will ask you in the interview, which option do you think is the best? So there you have to justify your answer. So obviously in this case, which option would be the best? Last one. Okay. So you will say that you will form a policy so that the people who come after him also, because if he only rejects the money, doesn't take the money, there is no guarantee that the person who is going to come later on, he may start accepting the money. So your answer would be a very, very justified by this thing. This is how questions are asked in the interview. Okay. Let us now start how the journey of interview will start. I have been on the board of UPSC for 4 years, interviewing aspirants like all of you for civil services. First of all, I must make it very clear to you that some films, Bollywood films, depict the interview as it takes place. One of the recent films, I will not name, you are aware about it. And that depicts that the members of the board are very hostile. They don't behave properly. They pass value judgments on the candidates. They discourage the candidates, reprimand the candidates. Believe me, no such thing happens. Never. Never. The boards, all boards, extremely cooperative, extremely encouraging, extremely motivating. They always encourage the candidate to come out with the answers. So don't go with this feeling कि 12th pass या 12th fail में जो लिखा हुआ है, that is the reality. That is not the reality. We are very, very considerate at the interview board. There are people from rural areas. There are people from states which have their own language. Okay, so regional language people also come. Everyone is given the same kind of a treatment. There is no such thing. Okay, so therefore, believe me that UPSC still is regarded as one of the very, very impartial institutions. Now let's come to how it happens. I will come to some typical interview questions later on. You will come to the gates of UPSC carrying a admit card. So the gatekeeper will see that admit card and he will usher you in. Now, normally what happens is that, though I wanted to discuss that later on, but since this is the right moment, the gentlemen candidates will wear a shirt and a pant. If it is winter, you can wear a coat, but it is not necessary, it is not compulsory. But don't come in slacks or in jeans or anything. It should be a very, very sober dress. And the color should not be very gaudy. Simple shirts, simple pant. The gentleman will wear that. If you want to wear a tie, do it, no problem. But it is not necessary. Sporting a beard. There is nothing wrong with sporting a beard. But if you sport a beard, it should be properly trimmed. Okay? If you can do away with it, better still. But if you can't do away with it, trim it. The hair should be properly combed. And number 4 thing, your shoes should be very well polished. Black shoes, no colored shoes, black shoes. Coming to women candidates, again there is total freedom to wear any clothes, but it is always advisable to wear a sari. Always. Because the purpose of yours is to obtain maximum marks in the interview. You have not to display or flaunt any particular kind of dress and you are a liberated and so on. Your purpose is to get marks. Those members who are sitting there, if any one of them has some ideas, view about it, why allow that thing to happen? You should get maximum marks. One day, even if it is uncomfortable to wear a sari, my suggestion, with all humility at my command, I would like to say wear a sari. Okay? Again, the colors, etc., don't wear very gaudy colors. The perfume should be very limited, it should not be too much. And similarly, cosmetics, etc. Be your natural self, don't wear too much of jewelry. And one more thing, these are very simple things but important. Don't wear any rings, don't wear anything here which depicts any ideology or religious ideology. So, because unnecessarily question may be asked on that. Why are you wearing this ring? And you say, sir, ये मंगल को मैंने विजय प्राप्त करने, मंगल के ऊपर मैंने किए इसलिए मैंने, या मैंने बृहस्पति को करने. Why do that? So, leave your all things outside and go to the interview. This is very basic thing. Now, when you enter the room, before that, you will be asked to sit in an ante-room. Ante-room is attached to the room where you will be interviewed. Now, in the UPSC, there is one chairperson and members. Okay? Every member is the chairman of a board. Every means whichever is assigned duty. Supposing there are 12 members, all of them may not be assigned duty of civil services. Supposing 8 of them have been assigned duty for civil services interview. So all the 8 of them will be the chairperson of any particular board. Is clear? They may be from different services. Can be a vice chancellor, retired. It can be IS officer, retired. It can be police officer, retired, or from any other service. Academics, anyone. Along with him or her, there will be 4 members. So, in total, 5 members. The chairperson would be a member UPSC. Sometimes the chairman UPSC also sits as the chairman of the board, but it's very rare. Normally, the duties are assigned to the different members, who are the chairman of the boards. 4 members are there in addition. One may be from IAS, one may be from IPS, one may be from foreign service, one may be from education, and so on. So different services, they are all retired officers. No serving officer serves on the boards. And every one of them generally is given 1 week of interview, not more than that. They keep on rotating. The chairman remains the same because he is the member, permanent member, but all other members, they are rotated. So 1 week, these 4 members may be there. Next week, Some other IAS officer, IFS officer, IPS officers will be there. The person, a candidate, he doesn't know which board he will be allocated to, and the board chairman also does not know which are the candidates they are going to come. It is all done by the chairman and no member knows about it. There is a huge amount of secrecy in the UPSC. So it may be done by lots or whatever method is being followed by the chairperson. So none of these parties, neither the chairman and members of course do not know anything. For example, they are called advisors. So what happens in the morning, the chairman of UPSC, he calls a meeting. So for example, I have been allotted for 1 week. Okay. So for 1 week, I will keep on coming daily. Every day, normally 10 candidates are interviewed. 5 or 6 in the forenoon, 5 or 6 in the afternoon. So now you can see every candidate gets 20 to 25 minutes of interview. Nobody gets less than that. So don't think that if a candidate is not doing well, they will dispose him off quickly. Never, never. And that is why I said that we treat the aspirants with great respect. After all, the aspirant has come a long way after a huge amount of labor which he has put in. And all members realize that. So, even if a candidate is not able to answer very well, he or she will be given 20 minutes. In case of outstanding candidates, it is too good, then they can probably go up to 30 minutes. But minimum 20 minutes you will always get. The chairperson will be having a lot of information about the candidate. The first thing they would ask the candidate. So what happens is that you are supposed to sit in the ante room. Your documents, etc. will be checked, and so on. In the ante room, the waiting room, there are number of newspapers and magazines lying on the table. There are, you have provision for tea, coffee and water and washroom, everything. So once your turn comes, the peon will come and he will announce your name and you duk, 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 it goes on. So he'll say, please come. You will come and then the peon will open the door for you of that particular room where you will be interviewed. It's a small room. So there will be a group of sofas lying on one side and there will be 5 chairs, including the chairman. And in front of them, you will be sitting at the center stage. There will always be a glass of water in front of you and a paper and pencil in front of you. The paper and pencil is there to help you out. If you want to muster up your thoughts, supposing some question is asked, and you want to first of all dwell inside your mind, cerebral mechanism, then you will say, sir, can I take a few seconds? Yes, why not? And you write down your thoughts on the piece of paper and then come out with the answer. So the paper and pencil is to assist you there. With the permission of the chairperson, you can always write. The glass is if you are feeling nervous or you have a throat congestion, you can take water. So you will enter the room and now you will say, wish the members. Good morning, sirs. Good morning, ma'am. Madam will be addressed always separately. And in all boards, I have seen immense number of boards, there will always be a woman. So 3 male members and 1 chairperson, he may be your male or female, but 1 female member will always be there in the 4 members who are called advisors. So you will address, better you address ma'am first. Good morning ma'am or good afternoon ma'am. Good morning sirs, good afternoon sirs. So then the chairperson will usher you to sit down. Okay, have a seat. And then he will take out a photograph. and he will show it to you. Is it your photograph? Sometimes what happens at the time of filing the application, you affix some photograph जो कि जल्दी जल्दी में उस समय मिला, you affix that, and by the time you have grown a beard and you have done something or to your hair and change the frame, so they will ask you, is it your photograph? All right, yes. And then the chairman will start the interview for you. So he will, all other members also have some basic information about you. What is the basic information? Let's understand. Your name, your parents' name, the place to which you belong, the places where you have worked, the subjects you have taken in your graduation, the optional subject which you have taken in the civil services, the hobbies, the interests. This all information will be there in that. So now the chairman will set the ball rolling, and he or she will say, so we have such and such person before us. He will look at us, and he will start off asking some question. What type of questions are there? I will tell after this. He will devote 2 to 3 minutes. Now remember, there are 5 members, 20 minutes, 4 minutes. In that 4 minutes, the question also has to be asked and the answer also has to be given. So we apply a rule, generally unwritten rule, 30 seconds rule. Within 30 seconds, you should give your answer. Because if you don't give your answer in 30 seconds, you will not be in a position to field many questions. Number of questions will go down, and you should try to attempt as many questions as possible. So try to give answer 30 seconds. And that is why I said you have to prioritize your answers. The most, and don't be in a hurry to give answer. Think for a while. Within your mind, start thinking that which is the most important part of my answer. Come out with that particular answer. Okay. So then, after he has asked some questions, 3-4 minutes, and then he will gesture. So normally what the pattern, different chairperson follow different patterns. Sometimes they will say this, ki ji, first candidate, we will start from left side. So the left advisor will ask first, then the second one, then the third one, then the fourth one. And then he will say, next candidate we will start from the other side. So either side, normally the questioning starts from one of the ends, either this end or that end. So he or she will start the question round, and within 4 minutes you have to finish off one particular thing. 4 or 5 minutes maximum. If the chairman finds that an advisor is taking too much of time, he will say, yeah, that's it. Okay, we move on to the next advisor. They are very curt in that respect. And supposing someone is trying to browbeat, supposing any person, immediately he will interject. Because, as I said, the purpose of the interview is more of a conversation. It is not interrogation, just conversation. What are your views about it? And that is why I said, don't for a moment think that you will be browbeated there. They will not browbeat you. They will be very, very helpful to you. Okay, so now, so after all of them have asked you questions, and there will be questions relating to a large number of subjects. We will discuss that one by one. And then generally what happens is that the chairperson will have the final say. After everyone has done this, he will say, either he will say, all right, your interview is over, you may leave. Or he may say that, would you like us to ask any particular question in any particular field in which you feel you are strong? Now that is a trap sometimes. Don't fall for that trap. If you have done very well in your interview, then you politely refuse because your interview has gone so well. Why do you want to take the risk of getting asked a question in the last round which you may not be able to answer? Remember, the last question which you answer, that is a very important, because after that you will be going out of the room and you will be judged. तो आखिरी इंप्रेशन जो है ना वो अच्छा होना चाहिए. तो इसीलिए अगर आपका इंटरव्यू बहुत अच्छा गया, if it has gone really well, there is just, you say polite, no sir, I think I'm quite happy and satisfied with this, and that's about it. So thank you very much, thank you so much. So if you feel that your interview has not gone well, then you can lap it up, you can jump at that, and then you can say, sir, I would be keen if you could ask questions on international relations, or you can ask on sports or on music or anything else. Then they will ask some question and maybe you are in a position to answer that question well. Now, let us talk about a few other things relating to interview. First of all, please feel free in asking me any point of time. Again, as I said, it is more of a conversation with you. My purpose is to see that all of you who are present here, you ultimately qualify at the interview and get selected. But remember one thing, which I would like to mention here. People have a craze for IAS only. It is not that. Every service is a very good service. People in Indian Revenue Service, both income tax and customs, they have done very well. In audit and accounts, they have done very well. Railway Management Service, these are all excellent service. Indian Foreign Service, Indian Police Service. Indian Administrative Service in the colonial era was regarded as the top service. It still is, but it is not to belittle the importance of other services. And I have seen people who have joined Indian Revenue Service and they are very happy. There are many strengths and weaknesses of all services. So therefore, even if you get selected in one of the services, don't lose heart. And you can always prepare if you want, taking 1 year extraordinary leave, which every service provides. You join the academy and take 1 year extraordinary leave and prepare for the IAS if you want. But IAS, as I said, the major issue, I would say, I would not say problem. The issue in IAS is, number one, cadre. Cadre is a very, very dicey thing. Number two, you deal with politicians. Not all of them. Politicians are generally good, but there may be certain situations whereas other services, you don't deal with politicians, you deal with officers. And the public glare in Indian administrative service is too much. So you will always be under the media glare, under the courts glare, which may not be the case in the case of revenue service, where it's a very peaceful life. So number one, let me make it clear, all services are good. Present dispensation, political dispensation, gives very, very great importance to all services. If you see, out of Joint Secretary in Government of India, only 33% are now from IAS. There are other services which are. So everyone is important. So let me come to, yeah. Let's talk about some nitty-gritty. Now, having said about the Bollywood movies in the beginning, the film which I was referring to was very well made film. There is no doubt about it. The film was excellent. And it really motivated people from coming from rural areas and coming from a humble background. It was really a thing which would motivate people. But as far as that part, with that interview part, only that part, as I said, because I am myself witness to that. So therefore, I wanted to clear this idea in your mind. Because when you make a film, then sometimes you try to, the original thing is maybe different, but they want to, in order to make it more popular or glamorize it, sometimes this is done for making mass appeal. But the chairman and the members, they are, in all interviews, they are very good. They are and they have a system. The interviews which are carried out in many boards, 6-7 boards. So someone may say, ki if I was in that board, I would probably have got better marks. People feel ki some are very liberal boards, some are very difficult boards. It may be to some extent, because everyone has got its own way of assessing. But every day, the chairman looks up at the marks and tries to harmonize them. Harmonize them in the sense that sends signals that, look, you are being too strict or you are being too liberal, so that a uniformity emerges in that. And believe me, again I would say, UPSC is very fair, very fair. At least compared to the public service commissions of the state, is very fair. My daughter is in civil services and she appeared 2-3 times at the interview, got selected. She got almost 210 marks out of 250 every year. Same, almost same. Now, she was in different boards, but still she got 210 or 215 or 200, which will give a clear idea. I mean, at least this is my impression, that they are generally very fair. So don't be under this idea that that board is a very liberal board or that board is not a very liberal board. Every board is fine. And they work under the overall supervision of the chairperson, who gives, who interacts, who talks with them, how we should do. We should not do any grilling. Even when we sit on the first day, they clearly say that don't grill the candidates. And don't try to show off your knowledge. Some, people, they want to show off their knowledge to the candidate. Then they clearly say, chairperson says, this is not a time where you have to show off your knowledge. Your purpose is to enter into a conversation and let him do most of the talking. You will be only asking the questions. Okay. Some of these things which we have already discussed, but bulleted points I wanted to show you. So interview duration is generally 20 minutes. It is a test of knowledge, skills and attitude, but more of skills and attitude. Knowledge only little bit, not too much. Knowledge, you can say, for example, knowledge of what? Knowledge of the subject you had taken in your graduation. Knowledge about the optional. So they can ask you question on knowledge relating to your subject which you had taken, and you can't take this plea कि सर वो तो 3 साल पहले था, अब तो याद नहीं, भूल गया हूँ मैं. Don't say that. You are expected to know that. You have to prepare. If you have taken physics or mathematics or geography or psychology, you have to be well versed with that. And secondly is the optional. And sometimes they ask this question, why civil service and why engineering to civil services? I will answer that question which I raised in the first place itself. Why civil service? That we will talk about in a little while. But let's talk about general things. Answer should be rational, ethical and secular. Communication. Eye contact. You have to maintain eye contact with the person who has asked the question. But, having said that, while you are answering the question, you should scan the entire board, left to right, right to left, so that all the 4 members feel that you are paying attention to them also. एक ही व्यक्ति के साथ सिर्फ आई कांटेक्ट नहीं रखना है. You talk to the person, but quickly glance yourself to other members. Is it clear? No gesture. बहुत से लोगों को ना हाथ हिलाने की बड़ी आदत है, खासतौर पर जो कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में होते हैं ना. There this different system is there, and they use words which we never use in service. They will say guy or hey, those kind of slangs which are there. Civil service interview is a very serious business. You are not supposed to use those corporate words or jargon. And it has to be very specific, very, very clear, crisp, to the point. So, no gestures. You have to sit with your arms. Either if there is an armchair, you can put your hands on the arms on the arm of the chair. If there is no arm, you can put it on your thighs. That's how you will do that. But you will not nachao your hands there to show make a point. Many people do that. I'm telling you, people do that. So don't do that. Answer should be succinct. What is succinct? Crisp, to the point. Succinct, crisp, to the point. Why to the point is necessary? Yeah, 30-second rule. 20 minutes is the maximum time. If you go about beating about the bush, you are the loser, because the number of questions will come down. And if they want to test you full personality, then you must try to field as many questions as possible. Okay? Voice should be loud enough, but soft. It should be loud enough to reach them, so that they don't have to say, will you repeat your answer? I couldn't hear you. Don't allow. So it should be loud enough, but soft. It should not be shrill. Okay? Modulation in the voice. What is meant by modulation? Changing tone, pitch. It should be depending upon the emotions. You have to change the pitch. It should not be a flat voice. So emotions overtake us. It can be wonder, it can be other emotions, love, affection, or dismay, or so those things should be reflected in the modulation of the voice, intonation of the voice, so that it doesn't appear drab. Okay? And you should be enthusiastic. They should have this feeling that you are enthusiastic in answering the question. Don't bluff. Never bluff. Now, can you tell me, if you take a thumb rule of 30 seconds, how many questions do you think one would be able to field in 20 minutes time? That is an upper limit. Normally 15, 20 questions. Every member, you can expect 3 to 4 questions. So 15, maximum 20. That is the number of questions you should expect to field. So with that 30-second rule, you have to understand that out of 20 questions, supposing, if you are not in a position to answer 3-4 questions, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't bluff. Thinking कि भाई मुझे तो सारे क्वेश्चन के आंसर देने हैं. So one start bluffing. It is easily caught. Immediately it is caught. After all, those people have spent 35 years in service. They will catch you. Someone will catch you. So don't bluff. And take a glass of water before coming into the room, so that your throat is wet. You don't start coughing there. Glass of water. And 3 long breaths. Now breaths you take, लंबी लंबी सांस लेने से, कमरे में घुसने से पहले it always brings down the nervousness. And believe me, everyone is nervous. The best speakers, when they speak, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी और रानी जी और सभी तैयार करके जाते हैं, but a certain amount of nervousness is always present in all of us. So if you are not nervous, it is a very odd thing. You will be nervous. So in order to get over the nervousness, one should take long breaths. लंबी लंबी सांस लीजिए, तो psychologically you will be able to bring down the nervousness, the levels very much. So that is 3 long breaths. Give examples and prioritize your answer. We have already discussed. Always give example in support of your answers. At least one example. If you can give more, it is okay. But again, everything depends on the time. So, one example if you give, it will be a good thing. Prepare general knowledge. So, that is the knowledge part which you are expected to know. तो हम लोग नॉर्मली वी रेकमेंड कि पिछले 2 साल के सारी इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन डोमेस्टिक एंड इंटरनेशनल यू शुड प्रिपेयर. सो प्रिपेयर द जनरल नॉलेज क्वेश्चन, रीड न्यूज़पेपर ऑफ दैट डे on which you have to go for interview. They may ask any question. They can say, what is the important news today? And you have to know that. Only then. You can't say, sir, I was in a hurry, I could not read the newspaper. It will be cutting a sorry figure. So therefore, read the newspaper. In any case, in the waiting room, where you will be waiting for 15-20 minutes before the interview, there will be all newspaper lying around there. Pick them up and see the main headlines there. So, the knowledge about international affairs, so Russia, Ukraine, and Hamas, Israel, or US, the Cold War, and the election of the president in the United States, and so on. All news about the current affairs and general knowledge. General knowledge for the last 2 years. पिछले 2 सालों की जनरल नॉलेज जरूर पढ़ लीजिए, जरूर. प्लीज डू गो थ्रू लास्ट 2 years जनरल नॉलेज. डोंट थिंक आई एम ट्राइंग टू स्केयर ऑल ऑफ यू, बट इट इज अ कॉम्पिटिशन, एंड कॉम्पिटिशन में यू हैव टू रन फास्टर देन द अदर्स, यू हैव टू नो मोर देन द अदर्स. एंड इफ यू प्रिपेयर ऑन दीज लाइन्स, आई कैन एश्योर यू, you will end up with very good marks. Read newspaper. Hobbies. When you write hobbies, you have to be very sure that if you are writing that hobby, you should know everything about that hobby. Sometimes you may even write a hobby in the DAF. DAF भरना होता है ना, DAF 1 and DAF 2. So in the DAF 2, the hobbies are mentioned. So whatever hobbies you write, even if you have never done it in your life, but you should know about it. You can write it. You have never played cricket, but you have a good knowledge about cricket, so write it down. So once you written it, that means you know about it. You cannot take an excuse that you do not know. So hobbies, take care of choosing with precaution, and don't write too many hobbies, because then you will have to face so many questions. So write 1 or 2 hobbies. Some people in their enthusiasm, they write so many things in their achievements column and hobbies column. One thing which remember, it's something which I always like to tell my candidates, and that is, yeah. Note. Which one? Note. That will make the entire, I just want to make some editing here. So mark should be, yeah, mark. Yeah. So one thing which I always try to say, less is more. Don't write too much in your DAF. The least amount you write, the least will be the number of questions. And you must not talk too much before the interview panel. And I say this, you should tell the interview board on need to know basis. You don't have to blurt out everything. Whatever you think is important to be told, only tell that much. Because if you overstep, you sometimes go into uncharted territories and then they catch you and then they will ask you questions on that. So be very careful when you are answering, and less is more. The same thing about hobbies. So the hobbies and then the graduation subjects. Whatever subject you have taken, prepare it well. If you have taken science, how many of you have taken science in the graduation? Anyone? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, not many. Now, sometimes what happens is that we are not in a position to answer some very basic questions of science. Why the red light, the stopping light on a signal is red? Why the sky is blue? Anna? So, these some very basic questions. Those people who are sitting there, they are not very experts in specific subjects. They are not. They are dealing with general administration. But they can ask you very, very simple, mundane questions. Now, in order, for example, one of my questions which I often ask to a person who had taken Bachelor of Engineering, he had done in electronics or telecommunication. One favorite question which I asked them, why in India the mobile phones have got 10 digits? Why? Why not 8 digits? Why not 6 digits? Why not 4 digits? Why 10 digits? Now, so it is related to population, but then how? Why 10 digits? You are right. So the answer is that if you have 10 digits, the number of permutation is 10 to the power 10. That is 1000 crores. Permutations are possible. The population is, say, 140 crores of India. So if everyone holds a mobile phone, you will be able to easily get the numbers because there are 1000 crore permutation. Even if someone has more than one mobile phone, so up to, even if everyone sports 5 mobile phones, even then it will come to 700 crores. So, till such time, the number of mobile phones cross 1000 crore, 10 digit will suffice. That's a scientific explanation. There is a national numbering plan. And the person who has done electronics and telecommunication is expected to know that. Similarly, a person who has done civil engineering, I would ask him a very simple question. Why the manhole covers are round in shape? Why not square in shape? Why they are round? You must have seen manhole covers. Manhole covers जानते हैं? जिसके नीचे से sewage or water जाता है. You can open it and see the defects. They are always round in shape. So the person, why? Yeah. Edgeless, okay. The one reason is that if it is square, along diagonal it will fall. Because diagonal is more than the base. Pythagoras theorem, the diagonal is bigger than. So if you have a square along the diagonal, the manhole cover will fall inside. And secondly, it is rimless. So it is easy to fit. The 4 corners very difficult to fit. Simple question. So I always recommend for the science students particularly, even otherwise also for general knowledge, there is a beautiful book which is this book. It's in 3 volumes. It talks about every common question which we don't know the answer. That is given there. Subject wise, physics, chemistry, mathematics, geography, you take them, psychology, social, everything is there. So it's basically science subjects. So this book, I have purchased it. I used to, those time also it was there. And I was, so this book gives you very fundamental knowledge. Sometimes these questions are asked. Why ऊपर जाने के बाद जब ऊपर जाते हैं पहाड़ पर तो दाल गलना क्यों मुश्किल होती है वगैरह वगैरह. These are very simple questions, but sometimes we don't know the answer. Okay, so this is one which I recommend. Then there is a place of residence. जिस जगह के आप रहने वाले हैं, the place to which you belong. Supposing your father was a government servant and he was transferred from one place to another place to another place. So you will have to write that I stayed at Kanpur for some time and stayed in Vishakhapatnam for some time and this, that. You are expected to know everything about that place. Everything. What are the things? Historical places, educational institutions, places, why the places are known for. Is there any GI tag which is for that specific? What are the social problems being faced by that? What are the spiritual people who have lived there? Are there any people who have got Bharat Ratna or Padma Bhushan from there? Everything about that place you should know. Which are the important government institutions? What is the level of unemployment? What is the underground water? What is the main crop which is sown in that state or that village? Everything about that. So the place of residence and the state to which you belong, all the places wherever you have been, which you have mentioned in the DAF, you should prepare that. So Vishakhapatnam, why it is famous, and Hyderabad, why it is famous, and what are the typical problems of Bangalore? What do you think is the reason for the traffic congestion in Bangalore? So everything about that place, geographical, social, economic, spiritual, environmental, all aspects of that place. And let me give you an example. I am very fond of asking a question in the interview also. Supposing you belong to Rajasthan. So I will ask this question, that if you have to sell Rajasthan to a foreign investor, what will you say? The foreign investor has come and he has met your chief minister. You are the, say, industry secretary. So the chief minister calls you and he says, he has come for investment. Tell him what he can get if he establishes a factory in Rajasthan. So the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of that particular state to which you belong, you should read that. For example, in Rajasthan, anyone from Rajasthan? Yeah. So what are the strengths of Rajasthan? What will you say? Cultural heritage, correct. One, definitely. That's a very important thing. Yeah. Cuisine, okay. Cuisine is there, yes. Tourism advantage. Natural resources, plenty of sun, plenty of wind. Variety of vegetation, okay, yeah. Besides that, also keep in, these are very good answers which you have given. Besides that, a few other things you should always try to study. Number one, irrigation potential. The crops which are shown, agriculture, labor situation, underground water, airports, road infrastructure, power situation, industrial policy. So the place to which you belong, you should learn these things so that if they ask any question on your state, you can straight away come out. These are the strengths of my states. So therefore, this is the state. So SWOT analysis of your state you should do. Now, the companies where you have worked earlier or the places where you have worked earlier. Supposing you have worked with Tatas earlier, or Birlas, or Infosys, or you have worked in DRDO, or you have worked in ISRO, or you have imparted teaching, wherever you have done anything, they can ask you question on that. If it is a company, you are expected to know the turnover of the company, how many employees were there, what were the things it was exporting. So everything about the profitability. So about the places where you have been employed earlier. If you have worked in DRDO, they can ask you what are the things which are being manufactured by the DRDO, what are the new innovations and creativity of DRDO. So you have to have knowledge about every year which you have spent since you have taken birth, particularly after your school days, wherever you have worked, etc. So pick up that knowledge. Okay. I come from a place called Varanasi, and I studied in a central school. I never went to the missionary school, and they asked me question about Varanasi, that what are the educational institutions, name some of the educational institutions, how many universities are there, what are the social problems, what are the things Varanasi is known for, who are the spiritual leaders from Varanasi, who are the people who are musical maestros in Varanasi. So all questions relating to Varanasi they were asking me. Okay, they jokingly, one of them said, do you think anyone who dies in Varanasi goes straight away to heaven? So that question also they can ask. So the other one, he was Sarup Singh, he said, Ki, I belong to Kurukshetra, and I say, people say that Kurukshetra you reach only halfway up to heaven, but Varanasi you straight away go to heaven. So this kind of always discussion goes on. It's a very, very light environment. There is no stress there. Don't think that there is any stress. They will never do that. They understand the psyche. You have really worked very hard to reach that stage. Okay. So, if you know part of the answer, you don't know the full answer. If you don't know the full answer, then don't bluff. Just say, sir, I'm sorry, sir, I do not know that. But if you know part of the answer, you say, sir, I know this much of the answer, but I don't know beyond. And give that answer, which you are very confident of. So give part of the answer. Okay. In case of controversial topic, now this is again a very question which can come. So they can ask you your views, and that is the attitude part which I was mentioning, that they may like to know your views about some of the controversial topics. Now here you have to be slightly careful. Whenever they ask questions on controversial topics, which can go either way, people may have different perceptions about that, you must try to give a balanced answer by giving the pros and cons, or one school of thought and another school of thought. So questions like reservation policy, okay, so reservation policy is one. Corruption. Never blame anyone in the interview. Don't say that bureaucrats are responsible, or the politicians are responsible, or the corporate houses are responsible. You must always try to say good things about everyone. And if you blame someone, you never know the person who is sitting in front of you, who is asking the question, he or she may be having some kind of an affinity with that particular person. So try to say, well, we all come from the same society and there is a degradation everywhere. So corruption, yes, it is there. So they can ask you some very interesting questions. For example, an hypothetical question, situation based. If you are posted as the district magistrate, what steps will you take to reduce the corruption in your office? So there you have to, situation based question, you must prepare. Now if I ask you this question, what answer will you give? What steps will you take to bring down the level of corruption in your office? Okay. All right, okay. Number one is technology. Number two, huh? Feedback from people. Hmm? Audit, okay. Okay, audits, proper implementation of code of conduct. Okay, what? So you have to be specific. Accountability mechanism means what? Fixing. Okay, accountability, first of all, that is, but because they can ask you a supplementary question immediately. So be ready to answer the supplementary questions also. Sometimes they will ask you a question. From that question, they will ask another question. So what will you give in accountability mechanism? Yeah, for example, you can say, I will fix a time frame for disposal of a particular file. That the file must not remain more than 2 days in particular on a particular desk. And I will be regularly reviewing that. And if I find that someone has erred, then I will immediately take action. So that this is how you will justify your accountability. Okay. Yeah, citizen charter. Okay. Okay. Charter, rewarding honest people, employees, and taking action against erring employees. What else? Someone else? Performance appraisal. Okay. Hmm? Equality, equal treatment, justice, equity, equal treatment. Yeah, good, very good. I could have added one or two more, which is one of the very, very important. Yeah, for training, capacity building. Okay. Capacity building through mission Karma Yogi. Yeah. Okay. So using objective criterion for decision making. Yeah, correct. One or two other things which, huh? I will remain honest myself.
मैं रिश्वत नहीं लूंगा कहने का.
So I will remain honest. I will remain corruption free. Okay. So, but my purpose was to ask the question: how will you reduce corruption in your office? Policy making about what? Hmm? So that is the taking action against erring employees, strict action against them. Single window system. Okay. So That, so what you said was remaining honest. We can also write in another way. You know what is it's called? Walk the talk. Whatever you talk, you should walk. है ना? कथनी और करनी में फर्क नहीं होना चाहिए. So that again will send right signals. But 2-3 things which I would like to mention. Why I'm trying to tell you these things, because these things somewhere will remain embedded. One thing you remember always, 8 principles or 8 pillars of good governance. What are the 8 pillars of good governance? Tell me now. Transparency, accountability, participatory, consensus building, rule of law, responsiveness, inclusivity, effectiveness, efficiency. All these things you can use for good governance. So, in responsiveness, how will you ensure that responsiveness? One of the very important parts of responsiveness is called as grievance redressal. So, I will put boxes in which people can give complaints. I will open up, use technology to have a portal on which people can file complaints. I will regularly review that so that the grievances are redressed. That automatically will bring down the corruption. Those were the days when the technology was not there, I was the collector. I used to do it in another way. I used to keep my doors open. So I told my peon who was sitting outside that anyone who comes, he should not be stopped. He should be ushered in. So my employees came to know about it, that our Sahab, he meets everyone. So supposing someone comes and he says, sir, that Fala clerk is sitting over my file. He is not giving me the no objection certificate or occupation certificate. So you know how I used to tackle that? I can't demoralize also my employee. After all, I have to take work from him. So while he is standing there, the complainant, I would call that employee. रमेश आओ भैया आओ भाई, वो एक आपके पास एक फाइल पड़ी हुई है इनकी, तो शायद आप बिजी होंगे, निकाल नहीं पाए होंगे, शाम तक निकाल दीजिएगा और ऑर्डर इशू करके उसकी एक कॉपी मेरे पीए के पास भेज दीजिएगा, सो दैट आई कम टू नो अबाउट इट. दैट वाज क्लियर सिग्नल कि इफ यू डोंट डू इट, आई विल टेक यू टू टास्क. सो दिस इज हाउ accessibility is a very, very important way of accessibility. People should be accessible to the people. That is also one way. I used to popularize my telephone numbers. In those days we did not have mobiles. I was collector in 84 to 91. Mobile phones had just started coming around 90 or 91. So what I used to do was my landline number, I would popularize amongst people. I would make it, everyone know about my my landline number. So if anyone has got any complaint, he used to ring me up. रात को 2-2 बजे कॉल आती थी और मेरा बाहर जो टेलीफोन ऑपरेटर था, he would say, sir, someone from such and such mandi, he wants to talk to you. And I would take the call and he would say, sir, यहाँ पर एक बहुत भीषण आग लग गई है and lot of things are getting burnt and please send someone quickly. And immediately I would tell the fire brigade and the police people. Before they know about it, I would tell them. Because I as collector had only 2 eyes and 2 ears. But if there is a 10 lakh population, I would have 20 lakh eyes and 20 lakh ears. So I used to tell them, this is my number. If you find anything happening in your place, a terrorist attack or an accident or a fire, just give me a ring. So that was again a good way of a good governance. So there are umpteen number of ways in which you can do that. So do some brainstorming, like such questions are asked. Right. So corruption, love jihad, they can ask you your views about it. Hijab controversy, they can ask your views. Demonetization again is a is a thing which is controversial. They can ask you about same-sex marriage. They can ask you about live-in relationships, surgical strikes, Article 370, citizenship register. So there are all issues which can go either way. Now, what is the principle you have to keep in mind in answering these controversial things? Balance. You have to understand, number one, that every controversial issue has got two or more schools of thought. So give all the schools of thought. You see, one section of people feel this way, the other section feels this way. Or these are the pros and these are the cons. Now, the next supplementary question they will ask is, ठीक है, आपने ये बता दिया, what is your view about it? When you have to give your views, be very careful. You must give that view which is in line with the central government. Don't go against the central government. For example, demonetization. There is a view central, Article 370, there is a view taken by the central government. So you say that this has been amply justified by the central government in such and such manner, and I tend to agree with that. Particularly, if there is a court order, then you can say that this matter was referred to the court. Article 370, referred to the court. Demonetization, disposed of by the court. And they have justified it, they have held it legal, and I tend to agree with that. So nobody will ask you any further question on that because court has given it. So whenever a controversial question, give both the sides. If they ask for your opinion, stick to either the central government's views, or if there is a court order, stick to that court order. So, if court order, lean on the shoulders of that court order. High Court has ruled it, Supreme Court has ruled it. Otherwise, agree with the government policy. Don't take risks in interview. Interview में risk लेने का नहीं है. Even, for example, essay writing. Now, essay writing, some people take risks. नहीं, मैंने तो कोई और जिस सब्जेक्ट पर नहीं लिखेगा, मैं उस पर लिखूंगा. ये तो सारे लोग लिखते हैं. Don't do that. You must choose the safest topic there. You know, nowadays all the essay topics are quote based. Almost all of them are quote based, which is very difficult. And quote based, the examiner may have a different perception as compared to you. So choose that quote or that subject or that topic which is not subject to different interpretation by different sets of people. Safe, to the point. You know, when I took the examination, the topics used to be mixed, both quote-based as well as general topics. I never went for quote-based. I chose a topic which was a very simple topic. Straight away, probably 80% of the people would have written on that topic, but I said no, I would choose that one. You know the topic which I choose? It was a very simple topic, mundane topic, and people will laugh at it also. The topic was recent advances in science in India. Now, it's a very simple topic, ordinary topic. General people will say, "Ye kya koi topic hai?" I will write on Shakespeare's quote and this, that. Don't do that. Your aim is to qualify the examination, get marks. बाद में जितना risk लेना लीजिएगा after you join the civil service, then you can take a lot of risks. Don't do it now. So, that is how. Don't take risks. Reserve them for a time once you join the civil service. Field as many questions as possible. So that is why I said that since there is the unwritten rule, which I would say is 30-second rule, 20 minutes, try to field 15 to 20 questions. 15 to 20 questions. Last question is very important before you leave the room. Now let me tell you what happens after you leave the room. So normally what happens is that chairman, after seeing the type of questions which are asked by the different advisors, he forms a perception and idea about the capability of the various advisors who are asking the question. Not everyone is that intelligent. So whenever I went, by God's grace, the chairperson who was there, he used to rely too much on whatever I thought about a particular candidate. So after a candidate goes away, then the chairperson leans towards me and he says, Krishmohan ji, aapka kya vichar hai? What is your opinion about the marks to be given to this particular candidate? And the marks are given only in percentage form there. You know something, percentage form? So what we do is, we will say, we will not give marks in absolute terms. So we will say 65%, 70%, 35%. So I'll say, I think the candidate was very good, we should give him 60%. Now he will ask the other advisor, what's your view? So sometimes say, sir, I agree with Mr. Krishnamohan. Or he will say, sir, I think he deserves more, 62%. Or deserves less, 58%. And then a consensus emerges. There is no such thing that everyone gives separate marks and then you take out an average. No such thing happens. There is a consensus. If there is some difference of opinion, the chairman has the last vote. He will say, no, I think we should give 60% marks. And then we write 60% against that candidate. And we move on to the next candidate. Now, what happens? When forenoon there are 5 or 6 candidates who have been interviewed. So after the forenoon thing is over, then we break for lunch. Before going for lunch, everyone has a re-look at the numbers which have been allotted. So supposing 5 candidates have been there, we have allotted 40%, 60%, 35%, 58%, 72%. So now we have a re-look at it and we say, what's your view? The person who has got 70% and the person we have given 68%, out of them which was better? And he say that 68% was better. So then we relatively, we modulate that. Fine tuning is done. Because out of the 5, this was the best. So he or she should get the maximum marks. So to that extent, fine tuning is done. And then the final list, comparatively, this was the best, this was the second best, this was the third best, this was the fourth best, the marks are allocated. And then everyone signs. The UPSC employee comes and he folds it, puts it in an envelope, it is sealed and off it goes. Now after the lunch, the second, nothing to do with the previous. Jo ho gaya, wo chala gaya. It has gone into the desk. So this is how the interview goes on. And interview goes on from December to February generally, but sometimes it is delayed. It has gone up to April also in one of the years also. Okay. The last question is important. So this is where I was telling you that if you have done very fairly well, अपने आपने इंटरव्यू में अच्छा किया है प्रदर्शन, और आपसे ये पूछा जा रहा है कि क्या आप किसी और विषय के बारे में आप चाहते हैं कि हम पूछें, तो बड़ा पोलाइटली इसको मना कर दीजिए, क्योंकि आपका बहुत अच्छा प्रदर्शन रहा है, आप क्यों रिस्क ले रहे हैं. बट इफ यू हैव नॉट डन वेल, then you can take that chance. And as I said, on the table there will be a glass of water and a pen, paper. Avoid rings. जो भी religious connotation, superstition connotation, avoid that. Practice communication skills, speaking before a mirror. If you speak before a mirror and then record it and play it again, you will be able to find the faults which are there automatically. Sometimes we always ask one of our colleagues or brothers or sisters to see our performance and point out our mistakes. Because as I said, it is a matter of skills and attitudes. So the oratory skills, communication skills, use very simple language. You don't have to use Shashi Tharoor language there. Simple language is good enough. Mahatma Gandhi's experiments with truth or discovery of India by Jawaharlal Nehru was in a very simple English, and yet they left an impact. So you don't have to use very difficult words. Simple words use kijiye, and you should be able to convey that. That is the important thing. So this is the general rules which I would like to recommend. Now the interview. Interview judges your personality and caliber, and particularly not your knowledge. Knowledge you have already been tested, but some knowledge like the optionals and the bachelor's subjects and general knowledge, they may ask you, but they will not ask you कि कौन यहाँ का president है, कौन यहाँ का prime minister है. Those kind of questions they will never ask. They will ask only thought-provoking questions, situational questions, ethical questions that they can ask. They can ask about the foreign policy. What are the pillars of our India's foreign policy? They can ask that. Do you think that the foreign policy has evolved over a period of time? Can you name the different phases of our India's foreign policy right from 1947 till today? That kind of question can be asked. Particularly if you have opted for Indian Foreign Service as the first option. So then some questions may be related to that. They also ask this question many times. Why have you given IAS as the first preference, or IPS as the first preference, or IFS as the first preference? So that also is a question. They also ask question, why have you given this cadre as your first preference? So you must be prepared on that. The reason can be that my father, I stayed with my family for a very long time in that state, and I feel quite attached to that state, or something like that. Or I don't, particularly this question they ask is, why you have given IFS as the first preference? So then you will have to tell that I'm very fond of international relations. I read a lot on international relations. I'm very fond of the different relation between countries, India and the world, and so on. So this, you will have to come prepared for an answer to that. So let me come to that question which I asked you in the beginning. Why IAS? Because this question is invariably asked. So you came out with very good answers, but let me give you some of the answers which can be mentioned here.
Does the vast syllabus of general studies for the UPSC Prelims overwhelm you to initiate your preparation for the civil services examination? Is your apprehension and self-doubt coming in the way of your success in joining the civil services? Comprehend your preparation for UPSC Prelims 2025 with the fast-track course targeting general studies with innovative curriculum, revision and mentorship. Starting from 19th November at 1 p.m, the course offers coverage of UPSC GS Prelims subjects, dedicated mentorship support and guidance for performance maximization, access to PT 365 classes for current affairs preparation, sectional mini tests for regular assessment and performance, personalized student portal to access study material, access to live and online classes. Enroll today and make prelims your stepping stone to proceed to the UPSC mains.
Okay. You came out with some very good answer. First of all, I would like to mention that civil service, never criticize any other service. If they say, ki, why did you not choose to become an engineer or a doctor or an architect? Never criticize that. You say all those things, they ultimately, they are meant for the doing something for the society. But civil service is unique in many ways. So civil services are unique in many ways. And what is their uniqueness of civil service? Sometimes they also ask you, what do you understand by public servant? Very basic question. You must know what is a public servant. They can ask you some very basic question. What is accountability? What is integrity? What is honesty? What is transparency? You must know that. If a person had taken mathematics, I used to ask this question. Define algebra. Define geometry. Very simple thing. But they can ask that thing. Or I will ask this question. You are standing near a tower. And you want to measure the height of that tower. The only thing that you have got is a kind of a instrument which can measure the angle of the top of the tower. How will you measure the height? Very simple question, but sometimes people don't. How do you do that? Tan theta. So tan theta, you will be able to measure the distance, the base, and then the height. So these kind of questions are often asked. So let's talk about uniqueness. What is a public servant, by the way? Can anyone tell me? Okay, all right. Okay, that also is good. Both are good. Okay, who deal with public money? Yeah. So the public servant is one who is paid out of public exchequer. What is public exchequer? Public exchequer is built up by the taxes which are paid by the public. And that is why a public servant is responsible to the public, because he gets his salary from the public exchequer, which gets funds from the taxes paid by the public. And by virtue of this word servant, he is there to serve the public. So this is public service, public servant definition. Okay, coming back, uniqueness, number one. Leadership positions, very young age. So you are in a position to occupy leadership positions at a very young age, which is not possible elsewhere. You become an STM, you become a collector, so you occupy very important leadership position where you can display your leadership qualities. That is one. Second is, of course, diversity of job. If you are in the IAS, then the diversity can be from A to Z. A is agriculture, W is wildlife, S is social welfare, T is transport, F is forest, E is environment. Every letter of the English language represents one department or the other. And during your 35 to 37 years of service, you get to occupy at least 20 departments. So that's diversity of job. Which other services, other occupations you will not give. If you are a civil engineer, you will remain in the civil engineering. Here you can be secretary engineering, secretary PWD B&R, secretary public health, secretary irrigation, secretary power, and so on. So that's the second, diversity. Number three, you are able to take part at every stage of public policy making. So public policy making, you are a part of every stage. And what is this every stage? You must read something about public policy. There are 6 stages in the public policy, and the civil servant is involved in all the 6 stages during his or her 35 years of service. So the first stage is problem identification. Number 2, agenda setting. Any good book, even the PSIR, those who are having PSIR would be reading public policy. So second is agenda setting. Number 3 is agenda setting means discovering the options to solve that problem. What can be the problem? Problem can be construction of a road, provision of power, health facilities, hospitals, empowerment of women, self-help groups, defense. These are all parts of the problems, which are there. So you have to solve the problems. Drinking water, the villager will say that our village does not have a drinking water. It's a problem. So then the second is agenda setting, which is solution. Options. There will be many options. Number 3 is policy formulation. Once you have identified the problem and tried to find out what are the ways to solve that, then you have to formulate a policy. For example, sex ratio is getting distorted. People are killing the female childs. Bhroon Hatya is a problem, because sooner or later it will reflect it. There will be lesser number of women as compared to men. You have to solve that problem. So what do? It is through a process of IEC, information, education, communication, telling people that the girl child is as important, if not more important than the male. And how do you do that? You ban ultrasound machines, legal, so that nobody can detect the sex of the child. So there are many ways of tackling that problem, and a civil servant is involved at every stage. So then he formulates a policy. The policy is this: ultrasound banning, telling people, awareness, school mein batana, importance of the girl child, important promoters ko lana, who promote that, influencers. For example, in Haryana, Madhuri Dixit was made as the influencer. She came. So people look at Amitabh Bachchan, look at Shah Rukh Khan, so this is how you do that. So there can be different ways of tackling a problem. So you formulate a policy. And then the fourth is policy legitimization. It is such an interesting area, civil service. You will never regret having been a part of the civil service. It is the best thing that can happen to you, being a part of the civil service. 100 years, 200 years next, civil service will remain the best service in this country. So the next step is policy legitimization. What is policy legitimization? There are 2 parts. 1, making it acceptable by the people. People should accept that policy, na? If you don't legitimize it, people refuse to accept it. What were the laws, the policy which was made, which was not accepted by the farmers? Farm laws. It was not legitimized. They should have legitimized it. In the absence of legitimization, a policy will never be successful. So legitimization is acceptance by people. And once it is accepted, Then only you make laws. How do you make laws? You take it to the legislature. The process, क्या process होता है? The secretary of the department will prepare the policy. It will go to the minister, and minister will take it to the cabinet, headed by the prime minister. In the cabinet meeting, the policy will be discussed, and then it will be approved. And then in order to make law, if a law is required to be made, it will go to the Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha and so on. That is called process of legitimization. Once the law has been made, now it is to be implemented. So the next stage is policy implementation. So the fifth is policy implementation. Implementation is again done by the civil servants. और कौन करता है? And there are two types of civil servants. One is the main civil servants who are the senior level. The lower level, they are called as street level bureaucrats. Street level bureaucrats. The BDO, the Tehsildar, the constable, the patwari, the doctor, the veterinary doctor, they are called street level bureaucrats. Ultimate, the implementation is done by the street level bureaucrats. So that is called as policy implementation. And the last stage, whether the policy has run well or not, so it's called as policy evaluation. Okay, so it's called as policy evaluation. So I'm just trying to tell you the uniqueness of civil service, where I was telling you that you are able to occupy leadership position at a very young age. There is a lot of diversity of job. You are part of the public policy making at every level, which is not so when you become an engineer or a doctor. It's typical of civil service. The fourth is why it is unique. A lot of creativity and innovation. So, if you had to purchase the railway ticket, the old system of purchasing railway ticket, what was that? You get up, you go to the railway station, stand in the queue, fill up a form, talk to a government employee who is sitting across the window, hand over the cash, he will give you a ticket, and then you come back. The entire process used to take 6 hours, 7 hours. And then someone who was creative, he said, why can't I use information communication technology to get relief for the citizen of the country? So why should citizen have to go through those 6 steps? Why can't we do it sitting at home? That was creativity. That was offered because a civil servant has got lot of power, lot of financial power, lot of administrative power, lot of discretion to make lives of the citizens of this country much easier. So creativity and innovation. Prime Minister also gives awards to the civil servants on a civil service day, those who are creative. Someone has constructed 100 kilometers of road, Armstrong Pame. Someone has done very good work in the transport systems, or in garbage collection, or in some other matter in the women empowerment or children, and someone has done good work in senior citizens category. So everyone in the civil service gets opportunity to be creative, which is not given in any other service. Fifth is, you are able to perform duties of the crown. What is crown? Crown? Authority. So just as in the British days there was a crown. So collection of tax, enforcement of law and order. So the duties of crown. Now, as an engineer or a doctor, you will not be performing the duties of crown. That crown is collection of revenue, collection of uh, taxes, and using those taxes, implementing them, schemes, spending those things, expenditure, they are all forms parts of crown. Sixth, you are a part of public governance. So you can change the lives of the poorest sections of the society in the country. So you can change the lives of farmers, laborers, women, children, handicapped. That is possible only when you are a civil servant. I'm not saying that others are not serving the society. Everyone is serving the society. But the extent to which a civil servant gets an opportunity to change the lives, to wipe the tears from the from the eyes of poor section of society is only possible in civil service. And do you know something? You can do lot of experimentation as a civil servant. 2 साल आप कलेक्टर रहते हैं या 3 साल रहते हैं, and you can experiment like in a laboratory to improve the lives of the people. And at the end of 2 years, quickly you can see the results, which is not possible in any other area. Here, quick results come because you happen to have a lot of authority. So you can change the lives of the people of this country. So you are able to take part in the public governance. And seventh, I would like to mention is that every day brings a new challenge. Every day brings new challenge. So, if you are fond of taking risks, meeting challenges, civil service is the area. So, you can give, when the question is asked on this, why civil service, you can give a variety of answers. Besides that, if you want to mention the reasons like my parents want to do that, their aspiration was, that also you can mention, but remember the priority. The most important part of your answer should come first. You can also say that from childhood I used to look with great awe or respect the civil servants. That also you can give. So that was the question. Now one question which is related to this, which is often asked, is that you have done engineering or you have done management, you have done doctor. You have occupied one seat. Lot of money has been spent by the government and your parents, and you have suddenly shifted to this. What do you think you are going to get benefit out of engineering in your civil service? Now tell me the answer to that. You have done civil engineering, electronics engineering, and you are come to the civil service. They are chalk and cheese. What benefit do you think you will be able to get by being a part of engineering? Okay, yeah. So, so the solutions are not very neat solution. बहुत neat answer इसका नहीं है. But then the answer which you are giving is the answer. Number one. Okay, scientific bent of mind. And then problem solving, correct. Management skills, decision making, project implementation, project formulation, implementation, management. Yeah, what else? So these are the general things which you can say, that nothing is wasted in life. Whatever I have learned, if I get posted to that department, definitely I will be able to contribute from my side. Supposing I become the secretary of PWD B&R, So, and I have remained a civil engineer, so I should be able to do that. But generally you say, these are the things which will come to you because of being an engineer. So this is how you will justify it, okay? But at the same time you say that that everyone contributes to the society. Don't speak disparagingly about any service, okay? So that is one. The second thing which I wanted to tell you with all humility at my command, this examination has become extremely competitive, extremely competitive. But that is not to deter you or try to discourage you from appearing at the examination. Almost 10 to 12 lakhs people appear at the prelims, out of which how many ultimately go to the mains? 10,000, and out of which 3,000 go, they are ultimately called for the interview, and out of 3,000, about 1,000 are selected. Having said that, my suggestion, sincere suggestion, again, don't take it otherwise. You must keep your plan B and plan C ready. I've seen many people who go on appearing at the examination 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and they become very disillusioned, frustrated. My suggestion, and I would give my own example. I was a topper right from class 6th to MSc. Topped in the school, in every class, topped in the BSc in the university, topped in the MSc in the university. I wanted to become a lecturer. My father was a professor of mathematics at Banaras in the university, and he wanted me to become a lecturer. So did I. I was very fond of teaching. But as luck would have it, after my MSc, I was a topper. I thought that I would be able to get lecturership immediately. But it did not happen because the number of posts were very limited at those times, and the general requirement was having a PhD. I was not a PhD. I was doing research, but I had not submitted my thesis. So the result was that in 1 or 2 interviews where I appeared for the lecturership, persons who were having PhD, they were selected. So then I started thinking, is it worth it? And I started appearing at all examination across the board, all examinations. Those days we did not have so many examinations, but there were examination for selection as probationary officer in banks. So almost all banks, they used to select probationary officer, PO. MTs and executive trainees in the public sector undertakings, ONGC, Indian Oil Corporation, HPCL, LIC. So what I did was I appeared at all of them. Nowadays even more avenues are available, like public, the state civil services are there, judicial service is there. Almost every public sector undertaking is taking out advertisements. Indian Forest Service is also there, Indian Economic Service is there, Indian Statistical Survey. There are a lot many services now. My sincere suggestion to you would be, all services which have almost the same syllabi, and there are many, appear in all examinations and get selected. I'm sure with the kind of labor that you do for civil services, you will definitely be selected in other services or other posts in banks, etc. Pick up that thing, and that will give you lot of confidence if you have some service in your hand. So that is your plan B. And then start preparing for plan A. Take leave. Say if you have selected as probationary officer, take leave. If you selected as Indian Forest Service or Indian Statistical Service or any other service, take leave and then prepare for the higher services. But just because you had your aim is to get into civil service only, and that also IAS, sometimes it may be not be possible because of various things. Now you can see it's a policy. I'm not trying to say anything. Now the number of seats which are available for general category are just 40%. 60% are for reservations, whether it is economically weaker, whether it is scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and this. So 40% is the only number of seats available. And the competition is severe. I'm not at all trying to suggest that you will not qualify. You will qualify. But do also prepare for others, so that something is in your hand. That will give you so much of impetus that you will next attempt, you will definitely go into the civil service. Otherwise, what happens is that with only one focus on civil service, sometimes hard work is there, but some luck also plays an important part. So keep that at the back of your mind. Okay, so coming back to so interview judges these things: mental alertness, how alert you are, listening to the question, so that you don't have to request the person to repeat the question. You must be very mentally alert. Mental alertness, critical power of assimilation, that every issue has got a pros and cons. You should be able to, so critical power. Number 3, clear and logical exposition. Your answer should not be vague. You should not beat about the bush. It should be crisp, to the point, so that very little time is taken, and otherwise time will be wasted, and the examiner, the interviewer, he will move on to some other question. He will say ki isko malum nahi hai. He might not be knowing. So clear. Balance of judgment. Whatever judgment is there, particularly in ethical dilemmas, you must have a balance of judgment. Balance of judgment means positive and negative. Sense of proportion, variety and depth of interest. So they will like to know the depth of interest. If you have written a hobby, running or walking or visiting places, so they would like to know. For example, if you have written a hobby like, I'm fond of reading English fiction, so they will ask you this question: which is the last book which you had read? Tell us something about that particular book. So you should be ready with that. And similarly, films, if you are fond of seeing films, so you write the films. You must mention any particular film about which you know inside out. So the depth of interest, these things. And then ability for social cohesion. What is that? Yeah, something like empathy for others. In the society, you must have empathy for other religions, other communities, other groups, for bringing about, because the job of the civil servant is to bring people together and not take them apart. Interpersonal relationship skills. What's that? Communication, interpersonal relationship, team building, rapport building. Team is an acronym. What is team? Team is an acronym. Come on. Okay. Look up at Google now and tell me. Procrastination is one thing you should never do. If something comes, immediately look up what is the meaning of TEAM. What is the full form? Together, everyone achieves more. So, one thing which I always with a lot of humility I would like to say, carry a notebook and a pen. Nowadays, of course, you have mobile phones, everything is available on mobile phones. When we were there was no such thing. My younger daughter, who is a civil servant, she almost 15-20 years back, she got into the civil service. She always used to carry a pocket dictionary, always. And whenever she looked up at a new word, she would take out the dictionary and look at the meaning of that particular word, never postponing. So procrastination is something which you should never do. So team building, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, I don't have to tell you. They can ask you many things. How will you handle a flood situation? How will you handle a earthquake has come? Which is the priority, whether you will shift the children first or the women first or the senior citizen first or the tourist first or the patients first. So these kind of hypothetical situational questions they will ask you to test your leadership skills. How will you organize a particular thing in your district for a campaign, for voluntary work, so digging up, constructing a road or digging up a canal and so on. So this is the leadership skills. Human attitude and due sensitivity towards people's suffering. So basically empathy and towards people's suffering, especially the weaker section, the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribe. What is that thing of good governance, that pillar of good governance, which talks about weaker section of society? You have to inclusivity. So inclusivity is taking all the people together, and that is that has been formulated in the form of a slogan by the Prime Minister: Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas, Sabka. So that is suffering. Overall personality, warmth. You should not be, very lackadaisical. You should be, your energy should be there while you are entering, your warmth, sparkling eyes, you have come here. Don't be a morose or otherwise. Sincerity, you are very sincere in giving answers. Keenness, desire to learn. Conviction to stand firm. First of all, whenever you give answers, take a pause, think about the answer, then come out. But once you have given an answer, you should stand firm. Because otherwise he'll say he's a wavering person. Today he's saying something and after this something else. But take time to give answers, but stand firm. Okay. Willingness to admit mistakes. Supposing you have made a mistake while giving an interview. You have made a mistake. Ho jata hai. To err is human. And it is pointed out by one of the members. I think what you are saying is factually incorrect. This is the position. And suddenly you realize, yes, you have goofed up. Then admit that. Yes, sir, I'm so sorry, sir. Yes, that was the correct. So one should be able to admit mistakes. Approach, aptitude and attitude. What is aptitude? Hobbies, interests, their aptitude. And attitude, the way you look at things, how you look up at different things, that is your attitude. So then ability of verbal and non-verbal communication, that is a skill. So how effectively you are in a position to speak, verbal, non-verbal. Non-verbal, what is that? Body language. Ability to speak clearly and listen well. So don't interrupt while the panelist is talking. You don't interrupt. And sometimes, people, what they do is that the applicant, the aspirant who is appearing for the interview, and supposing the panelist interrupts him and they say, sir, let me complete my answer. Don't do that. Never do that. He has a right to interrupt you, but you don't have a right to interrupt him. Because ultimately you have to obtain good marks. Your aim should be very clear. Obtain good marks. Okay, so understanding and clarity, ability to provide comprehensive and adequate response that includes real life examples. So if you have to talk about honesty or accountability, you can talk about real life example. Accountability in a very simple manner. Lal Bahadur Shastri, he resigned when he was the railway minister. Accountability, that's an example. Another example of accountability could be Satish Dhawan, when he was the director ISRO, and there was a satellite launch. APJ Abdul Kalam was the project director, and the entire blame was taken over by Satish Dhawan. And when it came to success, the entire credit was passed on to APJ Abdul Kalam. So they give an example. Confidence. You should be confident. Comfort. Sit comfortably. Don't be very, very tight. Dress, we have talked about. Grooming, body language. Motivation and enthusiasm. You should be fully motivated why you are entering the service. And enthusiasm. Sometimes they ask this question also, that supposing you are not selected, what will you do? That also is a tricky question. What will you like to give answer? I will first of all exhaust all the attempts which are there. Even if I am not selected, I will not lose heart. I am a very hard-working person. I would like to appear again. But supposing at the end of it, if I am not selected, I always can go to teaching or whatever avenue, you can keep that thing. That will be a very honest answer. They will not take it adversely. Because you say that I have done my best. I will do my best again till the chances are exhausted. But if even after that, then I have got this particular thing. Honesty in responding to the questions. Public service orientation. So public service means basically, we always say that civil service is not a job, it's a service. It is a public service. And why it is a public service? You know, the system of governance in this country has undergone a sea change from pre-independence era to the post-independence era. The pre-independence era, the system of governance was called colonial system of governance. And after independence, the system of governance is called as a citizen-centric system of governance. So from colonial system of governance, we have moved to citizen-centric system of governance. Citizen is the focal point. All the schemes and programs made by the central government and the state government are with one focus, citizen of this country. And who implements these things? Who? It is the civil servant. That provides service to the citizen of this country. And that is why the job of a civil servant is of service and not a job. Okay. How better the candidate is from others? So comparative. As I told you, at the time marking also, then we see who is the best out of these 5. He is awarded the best mark. It's a competition, ultimately. Some standard question. The points listed below are must read for every aspirant. Spend time to research on possible questions that can be asked from these areas. You. Introduce yourself. Normally, they don't ask you to introduce in civil services because everyone has got a set of papers in which everything is given. So they will not ask you to introduce yourself. But certainly, they can ask about your family. Your father, we see, is a farmer. Do you also take part in the farming activities? Something like that. Or your mother is a teacher. What is the subject that your mother teaches? Okay. What is the thing that you have learned from your father, who is a farmer? And then they can move, so your father is a farmer. What do you think about the farm laws? Then suddenly move to the farm laws. Or she's a teacher. What is your opinion about the National Education Policy 2020? In what way it is different from the earlier policies? So this is how बात से बात निकलती है, question से question निकलता चला जाता है. And that is why I said, be prepared to answer not only the main question, but supplementary question also. It can come after that, related to that. And that is why depth of the answer is very necessary. The answer should have depth so that you are prepared for a supplementary question after that. So go in detail. Don't go only at the surface. You should go deep into that. So know yourself. Now they can ask sometime what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. Strengths you can always say. Don't give your weaknesses. And weaknesses, if you have to give, you should put it in such a way that actually they are your strengths. For example, one weakness which you can say, if there is anything, I go too deep into it. I think that's my weakness. But actually it is not your weakness. It is your strength. But you are putting it like a weakness. So don't say, I get very angry very quickly. These are strong, very weaknesses. Don't mention these things. You should mention those things which appear to be weakness, but actually they are strengths. I'm too persistent. I'm too much, I care for everyone. I go out of my way to help them. It is my weakness because I get very, very compassionate. Now, it is actually a positive thing, but you are trying to show it as a weakness. So this is how you will show your weaknesses. Have you understood what I'm trying to say? Your weaknesses should actually be your strengths. Okay. Right. Name. Sometimes they ask you the meaning of your name. So Divakar, so they say, what is the meaning of Divakar? Or Pratyush, what is the meaning of Pratyush? So you should know. And one more thing they ask, today is this day. Why today is famous? What is the significance of the day on which you are appearing for the interview? So before you go for the interview, Google it. There will be many things which have happened on that particular day. So remember that thing also. So your names and the day. And your parents and their profession, state of domicile. Wherever is your state of domicile, that we have already discussed, the place to which you belong, or the place where your father has been posted subsequently, where you have gone because he has been transferred. So all those places you should know. Schooling, college education, professional educational places, places of long stay, work experience if any. Sometimes they also ask you, if there is a gap, in between, when you have not done anything, and they ask you, what happened in these 2 years? You did your BSc in such and such year, and you have done your civil services examination after 3 years or 4 years. What happened? So sometimes you have to justify that period. It can be many reasons. What reason would you like to give? So personal reason, it can be that my father was not well, or he suffered from this disease, or we had to go out of the country and so on. So prepare an answer to that, because you have to justify every year what you did in that particular year after your college. So prepare an answer to that. They will not grill you on that, but they would like to know why you did that. Or you say that, well, I attempted the first time, and then I thought I should prepare more. In the meanwhile, I was teaching the poor students in the area. For 2 years I did that, and then or I went to a institute to have further education and so on. Any reason which you can justify for that year, you should be able to do that. Your SWOT, we have already talked about SWOT. Be honest and list out your strengths. Hobbies and interests, we have already said. Don't create an embarrassing situation by mentioning a hobby which you are not familiar with. For example, if you talk about cricket. Now, often I ask this question to the cricket. In how many ways a batsman can be out? Normally people will say bowled, LBW, catch, run out. But there are at least a dozen ways in which a batsman can be out. So understand that, because someone may be very ardent admirer of cricket in the panel, and he will say, but there are other reasons also. So you should know that. What is the definition of a short run? Okay, or a googly, or a yorker. So all these things. What is the part being played by technology in sport events? What is a day-night match? What is a pink ball? Okay. So do you think, a controversial question again, do you think Sachin Tendulkar, having achieved the the status of a Bharat Ratna should go on advertising for products. Do you think it is right? Controversial question. Some people will have very strong opinion. Yes, why not? He should do that. Some people will say no. It is demeaning the level of the Bharat Ratna, that you are appearing for Coca-Cola or for safety razors and so on. So such kind of questions are often asked in that. Vision and ideologies. Each question, expect question to check your ethics. So the case studies in the GS4 paper, understand that. Read some of them to understand the case studies, because they are the ethical situation dilemmas which are there. For example, I ask some very such questions, hypothetical. I will ask the applicant, you are the SDM. You get a call from your collector that, and particularly to female candidate, I will ask this, that you are the SDM and your collector calls you for dinner. After the dinner, the wife of the collector calls you aside and she says that her husband beats her up. Domestic violence. Now you are a woman, you are a lady, you are an SDM. The collector is your boss. He is going to write your annual confidential report after the year. What will you do? That's the situation. You can think about it, about the answer. Or I will ask this question. You are the SDM. Your collector calls you to the office. And there in the office, a lady is sitting. The lady is the wife of another collector who is posted in the adjoining district. And she has come for purchasing in your district. So your collector tells you that you go along with madam, help her out in purchasing. So you take her to the market and you carry out she carries out the purchasing throughout the day. In the evening, she returns back to her district without making payment of the bills. She takes away all the things, but she doesn't make payment. Next day, the traders and the shopkeepers come to your office and they say, sir, payment has not been made. Since you were there with her, so naturally we would have trust and faith in you. So you go to meet the collector and you say, sir, ma'am had come, but she had gone back without making payment of the bills. So collector tells you, I don't know. I never told you to do that. It is your business, your problem. You solve it your level. So then I will say, what will you do? So such kind of ethical questions are often asked. Okay. So body language. Your body language should communicate your confidence, your modesty. One should not be extravagant and showing off. One should be modest, serious. Be prepared for a question like, are you nervous? Some out-of-box questions may be asked. So out-of-box means not related to anything. Just asks, if you are, sometimes they ask, if you were given a choice that next birth you will become an animal, which animal would you like to become? That also an out-of-box question. But sometimes they do ask this question. So you will have to justify, I want to become a lion, I want to become a fox, I want to become. So such kind of things also out-of-box solutions. So one question was, one asked to someone and the chairman asked, he was having a handkerchief in his hand, the chairman. And he said, what is this? What is this? He says, sir, this is a pronoun. And THIS is a pronoun. So he was really appreciated. He said, because he was trying to point out about the handkerchief. He said, what is this? He said, this is a pronoun, sir. So that was a out-of-box question which he was asked to him. Such questions are often asked to test the wit of the person. How quickly he is able to answer that question with. The board should not mistake your nervousness or shyness for a lack of ability. Personalize the answers. So you should, rather than giving bookish or academic tutored answers, personalize your answer. You know, some people, particularly in the academies, they will say ki you should keep your 2 buttons open and 1 button closed, and they will say you should give this kind of answer. But your answer should be something novel. It should not be a tutored kind of thing, because the members would be able to understand, tutored hai, he has been given this. Something should be out of that thing, tutored thing. So rather than giving bookish answers, develop the art of storytelling. What is storytelling? How you phrase your answer. It should start with some kind of an interesting anecdotes or a story. So that is always makes your answer much more interesting. Storytelling is a very important, good way of starting off a communication or a presentation. By starting off that, I was a student, I had gone to take idlis in the cafe, and after taking the idlis, I gave a payment of 200 rupees and he returned 150 rupees, whereas he should have returned only 100 rupees. When I came back home, then I found that he had returned me more than amount. So I immediately went back and returned the amount of money. This is an example which I showed regarding honesty. So when question on honesty is there, you can start with a storytelling. So this is how you, again, it's kind of an example. As I said, examples amplify your answers in a much better fashion. And that is what the examiners are looking for, that it should be something refreshing answer, some new thing. And always try to relate and link your responses to your own personal life, as I have said. Please prepare current affairs for the last 18 to 24 months. At least definitely 12 to 18 months. So the current affairs, which is the general knowledge, you should prepare that. Remember, the interview is mainly a test of personality and not a test of knowledge. So if the board does not find the required personality traits in you, then they will just pass the minimum time. That is the minimum time, 20 minutes. They will not end up before 20 minutes. So they will just allow 20 minutes to pass. And if you are good, the moment the board finds that you are good, then they will wind up the interview, but with minimum time of 20 minutes. If you are outstanding, then they will go to a longer period. I have seen 25, 30 minutes people have been there if they are outstanding. Sometimes what happened, the chairperson, after everyone has spoken, asked question, and before ending the interview, the chairman again asks a few questions. When you find that the aspirant is really very good, so then there is an urge inside to ask some more questions. That is what we do sometimes. And you know, there was a time when the maximum interview marks used to be around 40 to 50%. Now it is 70%, sometimes even 75%. So that is the level the interview is going to make a difference in your overall score. So interview is really important. But having said that, if you have done your mains very well, then you will get through. I remember in the batch, I belong to 77 batch, there was an officer, a very good officer otherwise, but he was somehow not able to impress, maybe because of some controversial remark he might have made. He got just a single digit marks in an interview, single digit. And yet he became an IPS officer because he had done so well in the written mains paper. So this also happens sometime. Okay. The interview is your best opportunity to sell yourself as a candidate. An interview should be looked at from two perspectives, yours and board's. The board will try to assess what you can offer to the organization. Once this has been determined, they will then consider how well you will fit into the organization. Civil service. This, I think, is very important. Prepare on a sheet of paper all economic indicators of the country. So the imports, the exports, the balance of payment position, the foreign exchange reserves, the repo rate, the reverse repo rate, and you know, these figures are all available in the Economic Survey of India, which is generally announced one day before the budget. So prepare on a sheet of paper all economic parameters, growth, outlook, development, size, human development index, business competitive index from different sources, last 5 years, which includes, as I said, the GDP, the balance of payment position, the foreign exchange, the exports, the imports, what are the commodities. On one sheet of paper, prepare that and keep it, learn it by heart. You should know the fiscal policy, the monetary policy. So some of the things which I would like to particularly talk to you about is this. Let me write it down for you.
A strong hold over current affairs is your way to succeed in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Brace yourself and get detailed coverage of relevant news both nationally and internationally. With the monthly current affairs revision program starting from 26th October at 5 p.m. Enroll today and elevate your current affairs knowledge with comprehensive coverage of current affairs compiled through relevant sources such as the Hindu Indian Express, Economic Times, PIB Yojana, and others. Expert support and personalized mentoring. Comprehensive assessment through MCQs and mains-oriented questions.
Good governance principle. Because they are going to play a very important part in giving out your answers. Whenever you are asked a situational question, how will you bring down the corruption? How will you improve the efficiency of the organization? Number 2, corporate governance. And also CSR. What is the triple bottom line effect? Can you tell me? People, planet, and profit. So the obligation of the corporate body towards the stakeholders, that is mostly the shareholders, which is profit, towards the society, which is the people, and towards the environment, which is the planet. So the 3 P's. So CSR activities, try to learn them. Corporate governance, which are the institutions which regulate corporate governance. Huh? Which one? Okay, MCA. Then Commerce and Industry, okay. SEBI, CCI, RBI, ICAI, and IA, Indian Accounting, IA, SI or RI? Indian Accounting Standards of India, and so Company Secretaryship Institute and the Accounting Standards, that is the Chartered Accountants Institute. So these are the regulatory bodies. So you must know what is corporate governance, what is CSR. Now, third, SDG and MDGs. And what is India's position, ranking in that? So India's ranking. Fourth, international indices. Indices. For example, Human Development Index. What other indices are there? Pardon? Hunger Index, yes, correct. Happiness Index. So there are many indices. So you must know what is India standing there and the reasons. They may ask you why India is not faring very well in this. Now here again it's a trap. Whenever you have to give answer to that, follow the central government's view in that. Because if it is low or high, then central government must have come out with some reason or the other. Follow that thing. You say that central government has given a very good background to it, given explanation to that, and with which I agree. So this is how you will give. Now, fourth, fifth. Constitution, RP Act. Constitution, read from first page to the last page. How the president is elected, how a bill is passed, what is the difference between a bill and an act, what are the powers of the president. People don't remember that. What are the powers of president? Assent to the bills, supreme commander of all the forces, pardoning, judicial power, ordinance, national emergency powers, yeah, diplomatic powers, appointments, yes, correct. Everything is done in the name of the president. One very important thing which people forget, contingency fund, okay, ordinance, republic head, head of the head of the state. Executive head is the prime minister. Head of the state, yes. Supreme commander. One very important duty which the president performs, which we normally forget. Backward area, okay, that also is there. Inviting the party, form government. That is the biggest power you have. Inviting the leader of the party who claims to be the party. So that is the power. So I'm just trying to say powers of president, powers of vice president. What is the preamble? What are the words in the preamble? How unification of state is done? How bifurcation of state is done? Where does All India services fall in the constitution? Article 311, 312. And why All India services form part of the constitution? First of all, tell me what are All India services? IAS and IPS and forest. Why do they figure the name of All India services in constitution? They work for the unification of the country. Because people from north get posted to south, south get posted to east, east to west. They act for the unification of the country. That is why they find mention in the constitution. So read the constitution, okay? Read Representation of People Act. There are 250 and 51. Read both of them. Do read PC Act. What is that? Yeah. Then role of A collector. This often we ask this question, what are the different roles of the collector? So remember those roles: revenue function, magisterial function, developmental function, coordination function, elections, protocol. There are at least half a dozen roles of the collector. Read that, okay? And then some other things. Global problems and role of United Nations and its constituents. So this question is often asked, particularly to Indian Foreign Service candidates. What are the global problems that we are facing in this world? Can you tell me? Climate change? Technology? Okay, frontier technology, yes. Poverty and hunger. What else? Global warming, okay, climate change, yeah. Terrorism, correct. Refugees, conflicts, wars and conflicts. Modern warfare, yes, correct. Which one? Women, okay, all right. WMS agenda for women, okay. Inequalities. Huh? Democracy. Okay, okay. North-South divide, yes, correct. Increasing income inequality. Huh? Cyber security problem. They are all very good. Yeah? Pandemics, yes, pandemics. Drugs. So these are so these are the global problems. And then the role of United Nations and its constituents. So one question one often asked is, do you think United Nations is losing its significance? And the grouping of nations are becoming more powerful as compared to United Nations. So it's a question and you have to give answer to that. Yes? Huh. Okay. Again, you give that different schools of thought say this thing. And then when they ask you about your viewpoint, stick to the government of India. Don't be revolutionary in that respect. Never do that. Because someone may challenge your viewpoint. If you give the government of India viewpoint, nobody can challenge it. Who will challenge it? So my suggestion to you, give all the schools of thought, different schools of thought, including your thought, you give it. But when it comes to giving an opinion, then stick to the government of India. Yeah. Right. So these are some of the things which you should try to improve your knowledge. So while going for the interview, dress, we have already discussed dress. Simple dress, but neat and clean. Beard, we have already talked about. Combing of hair, I have said. Sit straight with your hands on the arms. Reach early, because Delhi particularly, the traffic can be such. So my suggestion always is, go to UPSC one day before that and find out the best route from your residence to reach that place. And definitely reach at least, I would say, 1 hour before that. Definitely 1 hour before the interview. You may have to stand at the gate or sit in the car, but it's okay. It's better to, rather than huffing and puffing at that last moment. Appearing before the panel, as I said, good morning, sir, good morning, ma'am. And at the time of leaving also, thank you very much, ma'am, thank you very much, sirs. Body language should be very positive. Eye contact, we have already discussed. Begin with sir or madam. Wear your normal dress. It is not necessary to wear suit, coat, tie. It is not necessary. Or a 3-piece suit in a bid to get the Park Avenue look. That is also not necessary. At the other extreme, don't shock the panel by appearing in a pajama jhava with a khadi bag. That don't do that also. And sporting stubble or a beard. So beard is, again, as I said, if you can avoid it, good enough. If you can't avoid it, okay, but trim it. But if this is your normal self, follow it. Dress neatly and reach the place of interview with your manners and mannerisms at their normal best. Okay? Reach early. Consider yourself to be lucky if the appointment time is in the morning. If the time is in the afternoon, the interview heat will be added to the sun. As such, you will be very, very nervous. The heat will be there. And you will have to guard against getting evaporated. You should be totally fresh and well rested on the day of the interview. Take a good sleep in the previous day. I have seen people who go to the examination also and last moment gate par khade hokar wo jo hai kitabein padhte rehte hain. There is no need for that. Take a good nap, sleep, and then you are fresh in the morning. Reach the venue half an hour before. My suggestion is 1 hour, but at least half an hour before. Don't reach the venue right in time, running, and certainly don't reach the venue late. Appearing before the panel, it is finally your turn now. Get up calmly. A light tap on the door. Supposing the door is opened by the peon, then there is no need for a tap. If the peon is not there, a light tap on the door. Push the door ajar and say, "May I come in, sir?" Or if the panel chairperson is a woman, then madam instead of sir. Greet the women members separately. We have already discussed that. All the other members can be greeted together. Body language. Your body, face, eyes, hands, legs, all are going to speak at the same time. But when it comes to hands, don't move your hands. Keep the hands still on the arms. Okay, so this has got body language. What the eyes, face, hands and legs say is more important, or at least as important as what you say verbally. Eye contact we have already seen. So eye contact is necessary with the person, but scanning the entire board. Begin with sir and madam. So that we have already discussed. Tone, rhythm, voice culture. So what is true about the body language is true about the voice also. So the tone should complement the words. So don't be whispering, you see, and deliver. Some person talk as if they are delivering an election campaign speech. Don't do that. Your voice should be such that the panel members can hear it, but it does not appear to be whimper or shouting. So very, very normal voice, loud but soft. So do's and don'ts. 30-second rule, which I have already said. No counter question. For example, if they say that, "Oh, I see that you are wearing a pink shirt." So you say, "Why shouldn't I wear a pink shirt?" That's a counter question. So some people do that. They have very audacity. "Why shouldn't I wear? What is the harm if I wear a pink shirt?" So you say that I like the pink color and therefore I like to wear a pink shirt. It's about it. Don't even say because I like it. You must give out a sentence, full sentence. Okay, that is respectful. So no counter question. Don't use slangs. Slangs, it should be a English language, normal British English language, no slangs. Yeah. Well, there's no problem. But my suggestion is that don't, if you have given English as your medium, it should not be that half of the sentence is in English and half in Hindi. Once or twice Hindi words is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you have given Hindi as the language medium, English words can always come there, particularly technical words. There's nothing wrong with that. So don't worry on that score. Don't argue with the panel. Argument will lead to nothing. You will lead to ultimately hostility at the hands of the panelist. So, you know how we do that? You have to do it very intelligently. Supposing you know that you don't agree with the panelist. So you'll say, sir, I see your point or your viewpoint, which is important, sir. But sir, there is another viewpoint which I would like to say, bring it from my side for your consideration. This is a very polite way of saying that I do not agree with you, but still I'm being very polite. Rather than saying, no, sir, I don't agree with you. Don't do that. Yes, sir, I see your point. It's an important argument because ultimately, and that is in fact emotional intelligence. Understanding your emotions, understanding the emotions of the other person, who may not be that intelligent as you are, but then that is a matter where he or she calls the shots, and you have to get the best out of it. Don't instead insist on completing your sentence. Let me complete my sentence, then only you speak. They have a right to interject. When you don't hear something properly, then you can politely say, sir, would you kindly repeat the question? I was not able to. They will do that. You can lead the interview to your strong point. Sometimes you can divert the interview to your strong point. You are good in geography or you are good in international relation. You can try moving them to your strong point. That I was very fond of reading the Russia-Ukraine war. So that will take you to the international relations. So try to move it to the strong point. Medium does not matter. Hindi, English does not matter. Rural, urban does not matter. Don't have that viewpoint. People like to say कि अगर rural area से आ रहे हैं, you have stand at a disadvantage. There is no such thing. If you are coming with a Hindi background, you are not at a disadvantage. Ready wit. Ready wit is humor. Wit, like I gave you that handkerchief, he said this is a pronoun. But wit is to be used very carefully. A joke should be cracked only when you are sure that they will laugh at it. If they don't laugh, they keep glum face, then the purpose of the joke is over. So the wit and humor should be used sparingly, only when you find that it is contextual, related to that. Read your biodata multiple times, because your DAF is going to lead them to the questions, and develop a positive attitude. Don't lie. Never say, tell a lie. Improve your communication skills. Don't stop reading newspapers. People stop reading newspaper after mains is over, but you must keep on reading newspapers. Prepare well on your hobbies. That is an important area. Know your district and state. Recheck your documents before going to the UPSC. All the original documents should be with you, and be yourself. So this is, we have discussed the do's and don'ts, and at most, the best, they will help your interview to be smooth. At worst, they will help you avoid making mistakes. So once, even if you have made a mistake once in the interview, don't repent over it. Whatever has happened has happened. Many mistakes all of us do in our civil service also, but we learn many things from them rather than repenting for what has happened. So if something has happened in the interview, next time you will not commit that particular mistake. So the one breath in rule which I would like to mention is that when a question is asked to you during your interview, take a normal, natural breath first, as you would then do in the other normal conversation. Don't breathe too much, that kind of thing sometimes people do. It should be a normal breath. So it is called as one breath rule. And take a moment before you come out with an answer. Phrase your answer well. The sentencing should be done after careful consideration. And the first sentence rule says that your answer to a question should normally be brought out in the first sentence itself. which is prioritizing your answers. So that in the first sentence, if the panelist is satisfied, he will move on to the another question. Oh, yes, 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 you are right. Move on to another question. You can be able to field more questions. 30-second rule we have already discussed. No counter question we have already discussed. Don't use slangs. Don't argue with the panel. Don't insist on completing your answer. And sense of timing. Don't rush into an answer before a question is completed. कई बार होता है ना कि हम लोग anxiety होती before the question is complete, you rush with an answer. Don't do that. Let the question be completed, think, and then come out with the answer. Don't be in a rush to do that. And when you don't hear, you request them, and you can lead the interview to your strong point. Medium, there is no such thing like Hindi or English. Wit, read your biodata multiple times, develop a positive attitude. This is where attitude becomes important. Attitude should be positive. You should look at everything in a positive manner. And believe me, if you remain positive in the interview, people have got very good marks by being positive. So positivity is something which will bring very handsome returns to you. And develop self-confidence. If you are sure about your beliefs, express them confidently. Remember that the line between self-confidence and arrogance is very perfunctory. And don't lie. Improve your communication skills every day. 25 to 30 minutes if you can do, speaking out before recording it on your mobile phone. It will give you a very, very improvement in your communication skill. Get straight to the point. Never beat about the bush. And don't stop reading newspapers. Prepare well on your hobbies. Know your district and state. Recheck your documents and be yourself. Summary is, there is not much to fear about except that your chances of selection depend on it. It depends on it. Be truthful to yourself and answer confidently. So that was about it. Now, since the time is over, I have got a collection of almost 100 questions which will be very pertinent to you. And what I will do is that I will pass on to someone in the vision, and they will give you almost cover all kind of questions which can come. So that will be a lot of useful information which I will pass on to you. And is there someone here? No, there is no one here. Otherwise, I could have shown you one of the, I don't know whether backstage. Yeah. Just wanted to show you full list of interview question. Only 1 or 2 slides I will show you. That will give you a good idea as to what kind of questions are asked. Please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself. I will just go through the main headings. Okay? Just to give you a good idea. Why do you want to join the civil service, which we have discussed? What is the motivation? Why do you want to work for the civil services? And what is your passion? What are your goals? What are your interests? So they ask these questions. And then, why should we select you for the civil services? Why a change from technology or management or other services to civil services? So there again you have to, this question is very often asked. What are your greatest accomplishment? What are your greatest regrets in life? Why did you go to a particular institute or a college or a school doing your graduation or post-graduation? What did you learn at college, university, and your lifelong learning from previous jobs? What were your favorite subjects in colleges? Why have you selected this optional? And you know, engineering candidates sometimes select anthropology or sociology. So they will ask you, they are chalk and cheese, why did you select anthropology? And then sometimes becomes very difficult. Though someone confided in me, when I asked him in a mock interview, I said, why did you choose? Sir, uska course bahut chota sa hai. There is only one book for anthropology. I can easily master that book. But that answer you can't give at the time of interview. You'll say, I am interested in human race and the development of human beings. From my childhood days, I was interested. Something like that. So that is how you will answer that question. What would you like to achieve in life? What is the difference between civil services and management services? Who have inspired you the most? What cultural and human values do you espouse? So, human values, so accountability, and truth, and non-violence, helping others, empathy, sympathy. So they can ask this question. So this is how I have prepared almost 100 questions which are there, and I will pass it on to them so that you can, at the time of leisure, you can read that. And I am of course always available in the Vision IAS. So any one of you have anything to ask me, you can always ask me. Okay, my number is available. Yes, go ahead. हाँ. Hmm. अरे ऐसा होता है ना, चेयरमैन को मान लीजिए, चेयरमैन यूपीएससी ने बुला लिया, या कोई कॉल आ गई, सपोजिंग प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफिस से कॉल आ गई है कोई इंपॉर्टेंट, या कोई फैमिली में प्रॉब्लम आ गई है, तो उठ के तो जाना पड़ेगा ना. देयर इज नथिंग टू वरी अबाउट. अदर्स आर देयर. तो चेयरमैन जाते जाते कहेंगे भाई यू प्रोसीड, आई विल रीजॉइन यू अगेन. घबराने की कोई बात ही नहीं है. वन कैन बी प्रिवेंटेड एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. कोई और मेंबर भी उठ के जा सकता था. एनीवन कुड हैव गॉन. देयर इज नथिंग टू वरी. There is nothing to attribute it to non-performance of the candidate. it's a professional hazard which sometime happens, but nothing to do with that. Huh. Preferences. Huh. Yeah, IPS role of SP. Yeah. No, not many. Basically, the two services, the IAS and IPS, and IFS, 3. Other services are all combined, so there they don't ask any particular thing, role of in the railway management service or audit and accounts. They can definitely ask what is the role played by CAG or the role played by the CIC. They can ask these general roles. But as far as a functionary is concerned, they can ask you what is the role of an ambassador or a consulate general, that is in Indian Foreign Service, and superintendent of police. What is the difference between the role of a commissioner of a police and a district magistrate? Which is better? So, this kind of questions can be asked. नहीं, मैंने ये नहीं कहा कि कौन सा अच्छा है कौन सा बुरा है. बट यस, देयर इज ए परसेप्शन दैट सम cadres they are better. IAS officer has importance everywhere in all cadres, but the demography, the geography, the revenue system, the administration, the governance, it varies from state to state. For example, typical, if you want to gain the experience of all aspects of the public administration, states like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh would be very good. Himachal and Uttarakhand will be primarily hill states. You may not get all the experience in these two states. I'm not trying to belittle their importance, but I'm only trying to say that some of the states, the kind of experience you get is much more. And therefore, those cadres are generally preferred. And amongst the cadres which are preferred, as I said, are Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. And amongst the southern states, some of the states which are considered to be good cadres, is Andhra Pradesh is good, Karnataka is good. Um, amongst the states, Gujarat is also considered to be okay. But there are some cadres which are, people say that they find it difficult to work with, is Kerala, and to some extent West Bengal also. And some cadres are such that they are remote cadres, northeast cadres and Sikkim. There you cannot get the feel of the normal administration which you have here. So many people in those cadres, then they ultimately come on central deputation to Delhi and spend their time there. So that is it. So while choosing the cadres, I'm sure your colleagues, etc., they will all tell you what I have just now told you, that these are the considered to be liked cadres, you can say. Yeah. 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 Huh. They can ask this question, that it's a group B service. So why are you opting for group B service? Group A service. So you will have to give an definite reason to that. And definitely they ask question, if you are opted for Indian Foreign Service or Indian Police Service as the first option. So they ask this question. You have to give justification for that. So this service also, particularly this will invite question because it is a group B service. So you will have to, what is the reason that you would like to give? But then they can say that you can always come on central deputation. Number one, you can always opt for a UT cadre, Agmu cadre, which has Delhi. So you have to prepare for an counter question on that also. Okay, but prepare it. It can be done. Yes.
There are certain situational questions, like you are with the DM or secretary,
Mm.
and you have to bring out with the policy.
Mm.
So in those questions, sir, the chairman or the board members expect us to speak more than 30 seconds.
Mm.
And sir, this is first question. So in that case, should we have to speak?
Yeah, yeah. You see, that 30-second rule is not a sacrosanct rule. What will happen is that it may exceed to 45 seconds also. The other question, the answer will become slightly less. So you have to use your judgment at that time, which question requires more time. On the average, I was just talking a thumb rule, but it is not sacrosanct. Go ahead. Go ahead. 45 seconds also, that's no problem. 1 minute also is not a problem. You go ahead. But you have to complete your answer. So if you feel that 30 seconds is not going to suffice, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, these type of questions are like just a replica of the case studies we study in
Yes,
ethics.
correct.
So in that case, should we follow some government policy like to figure out certain pillars, stakeholders, and on these pillars I'll be working. So can this be one of the
So which kind of case study do you expect in the interview? Which, for example?
like I appeared in 2021 interview and
Hmm.
I was asked, okay, how will you promote information and technology industry apart from Mumbai and Delhi cities?
So basically, here they want to know the course of action that you will adopt. So you don't have to devote time on the stakeholders or the ethical issues involved. It is basically the course of action. So straight away go to the course of action rather than spending time on ethical issues and stakeholders and so on. Don't waste time on that. That is the way you have to solve a case study. But since here pointedly they have said, how will you promote in information technology? You can say this way, uh, my stakeholders would be this, and therefore I have to work out a policy which actually is beneficial to all the stakeholders. So I will take the following steps: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
As you have said that we should be ethical at every point of time, right?
Mm.
While giving the interview. But my question is like there can be situations like for suppose if a politician is forcing us to be involved in corruption or something like that. Like if a kind of question is posed like that to us, then what should be our stand? Because when we go with the politicians, right, probably we will be transferred multiple times, like there are various examples, right? So then we will become redundant, right? So how to tackle these questions?
The question, the answer has to be one which is ethical. Naturally, you will not give an answer that I will become an hand in glove with that politician. Your answer will have to be that I will straight away refuse the politician, that I cannot be a party to that. In fact, I will go to the, if supposing it is the minister who is asking me to do that, I will go to the chief minister and I will say that this is what is happening. I can't be a part of to this particular thing. But you tell your politician very politely, because ultimately there are foundational values which a civil servant has to obey: honesty, integrity, etc. And therefore you should clearly bring out your stand. If the question is asked that I cannot be a party to this, I am responsible for ensuring that I remain corruption free and the people below me remain corruption free. But I cannot really work for people who are above me, like the minister, or if there is someone else above me, because they will face the music themselves. But I can definitely vouch for myself. So straight away answer is that since I am a civil servant and I am bound by conduct rules, therefore the question of being a part of the corruption racket or otherwise, it does not arise. Yeah, you say that transfer is not a punishment. You say that transfer is a professional hazard, which a civil servant, the moment he joins service, he should always be ready for a transfer. And wherever I will go, the government is going to post me at a whatever place, I will do my work diligently there. Ashok Khemka was transferred many times, but he never gave in. He was very clear. So therefore, this is the answer you will give. You see, whenever you have to, there is a choice between right and wrong, you have to say right. You cannot say wrong. You see, you cannot say that I will, fear of transfer will put me to be in cahoots with the politician. Never, never. They will expect your answer to be absolutely ethical. If the minister, for example, let me give you all of you example. The Home Minister tells the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary can tap the telephones. You see, there is a rule, law, that in case it is threatening national security, or if the crime is taking place or has taken place, then there is a provision under the Indian Telegraph Act in which a permission can be accorded by the Home Secretary to police to tap the telephones. But supposing the minister tells me that you tap the telephones of all the opposition leaders, you will not do that. You will say that permission is allowed only under specific terms and condition. This particular does not fall in that. So therefore I will not do that. So the answer would be very clear. Unethical and ethical, you have to choose the ethical. Okay. So this is how, if the minister says कि भाई elections are round the corner and this flyover is to be inaugurated. I want this to be inaugurated in the next 10 days. And you examine the flyover and you find that still lot of work remains to be done. And if you make it open, then it is likely to fall down. And the public safety will be jeopardized. So now the minister is telling you, I want to gain benefit out of the inauguration of the flyover. You will say, no sir, it's not possible. It has to meet first of all, the requirements of safety. Only then it can be made open. That's it. This is what the interview board will expect you to give answer. Okay? Okay. All right. All the best to you. Have a nice evening.